Hey guys, this is Enemy Stay News. I hope y'all are doing good. In this video, we are discussing the traits sorcerers show as shamans and the things they go to achieve and surpass the limits of their own powers that they possess. Something I like about the series in Jujutsu Kaisen is that there is no definite guarantee when it comes to battles, and sometimes sorcerers must sacrifice something or perform some sort of pact or vow to reach their own goals in the series, whether it's a small change like an increase in power or a huge character defining change. Gigi Akutami is very talented at balancing and give the sort of give and return aspects of this series and characters' growth and development, even in terms of their power, and I think that will be better understood after this video. But please remember to like and sub if you enjoyed the video, and let's get right into it. When you think about the power and limitations Gigi gave to characters in JJK, you can sometimes tell that there are a lot of moments that would be character defining if you were to look closely. And that's not just for how they are as characters, but their own conviction and power as a sorcerer. Even when I made my power ranking list for Jujutsu Kaisen with all those characters, I took into consideration their own drive and confidence and potential to grow and surpass their own limits as a sorcerer. But before we go into different examples of those sort of sorcerers, let's talk about some of the ways they can surpass the limits of their own potential. One way sorcerers can overcome their limits is performing a binding vow. And this is a standard for any sorcerer or curse alike when they need to accomplish their own goals and to surpass their own limits. This is a little difficult to understand the sort of scope of how binding vows operate, essentially being like a contract formed through cursed energy, and it could actually be formed on themselves or with others, but if the contract is broken, an adverse consequence can occur. But one of the first instances of a binding vow on a person's self that I could think of is when Nanami used it to overcome Mahito and escape the sewers. And these vows are extremely useful if done right and can really supersede the limits that any one person can achieve. Another way sorcerers surpass their limits is the use of Black Flash, a power that, as far as we know, only has 6 confirmed users. However, I'm sure as the series goes on, I'm sure we'll see more people actually use Black Flash. But this power is a distortion of space when cursed energy is applied 0.000001 seconds before a hit. Giving the impact 2.5 times more damage and making the hit flash black. This technique is extremely hard to perform even for supremely high level combatants like Gojo, for example, and no sorcerer can perform it at will. But once Black Flash hits and is performed, a sorcerer would be in a zone like the state Nanami said before, and will enter a state of increased cursed energy awareness, where manipulated cursed energy would be as simple as breathing. They would truly be in that zone like state. That really is insane to think about, because it would be like you were like high off cursed energy and mentally you are untouchable and in the prime state for fighting. And as a little side note, that is why it's a little unrelated, but Todo and Yuji versus Mahito, that fight is my all-time favorite in the manga, because all 3 of them were in that really high point as fighters and as sorcerers in the series, and had more or less equal footing in that sort of strength. And that fight was extremely sporadic and octane, and it had a lot of crazy moments, but that is for another video. But they really showed how Black Flash affected sorcerers and combatants in that fight. Something else to consider is a sorcerer's ability, especially with things like domains and special techniques. They are essential into making a strong sorcerer into a formidable sorcerer, and this really applies more to a character we have seen like Mahito, whose growth that we saw as readers, but it could really be applied to any sorcerer if they expand their own arsenal with more powerful, and I stress this a little bit, refined curse techniques. Their potential will just skyrocket if they increase their own refinement for cursed energy and sorcery. I do have some more points I'll go over with that, but when discussing some more examples of sorcerers surpassing their limits, and of course the characters I'm about to mention aren't in any particular order, just some people who I find particularly interesting. First up is Kento Nanami, and as a grade 1 sorcerer, Nanami is an excellent example of what it takes to be a shaman. And like I stated before, a time he surpassed his limits is when he fought the curse Mahito and used overtime in a binding vow that he used, decreasing the amount of cursed energy he uses, and once going over that point in time, over work hours, his cursed energy expands, letting him use 120% of his maximum power. So in Nanami's case, binding vows played a vital, very important role in his style as a sorcerer. Next is Yuji, and you could certainly see Yuji's growth and confidence as a fighter now compared to the beginning of the story, but his growth, it's not necessarily dependent on any one factor like a binding vow, but because of the experience Yuji had with different people and the curses he fought, and through unlocking Black Flash, Yuji could now perceive his own cursed energy differently, more clearly, and you could see when he fought a curse like Chozo, Yuji found his role as a cog in the series, and he had determination that we haven't really seen before in the series, turning his own fear into cursed energy and controlling his broken and injured body flawlessly. Even after he did lose with Chozo, his will to become a cog was much stronger, and when he defeated and accepted Mahito, Yuji was much more sturdy and mature as a sorcerer, and is getting recognition from Chozo and Hikari now for his determination as a fighter, even being referred to as a demon god due to the level of control Yuji now has over his cursed energy. Yuji is an example that a person's determination and confidence in their own goals and their ability plays a very large role in Jujutsu Kaisen and their potential. And this could also be applied to a character like Yuta as well. And when we first met Yuta in chapter 0, he was more like Yuji, he was up for execution. But Yuta, he despised himself and the vengeful spirit Rika for the situation that he was in. But when he had others supporting him, and that he accepted his own position and that he accepted Rika, at that point he was an unstoppable sorcerer, and he had enough power to stop Geto easily, as well as kill Yuji with no problem. Well, quote unquote kill Yuji with no problem. And Yuta, he was definitely not the scared little boy that he used to be. He is also an excellent example of that confidence as a sorcerer. And now Yuta is super strong, more in that upper echelon, sitting at the top, more at the top in terms of power. Then we have Mahito, and he is actually the character that inspired this video because of his unbridled soul. And Mahito simply is a monster and a genius that relishes in the challenge of fighting, and us as readers actually got to see his growth from being a petty curse experimenting on humans to a powerful threat that had the potential to evolve past the point of no return. Mahito is a fighter that will always adapt and get better the more he fights. He is kind of a jack of all trades, having access to Black Flash, domain expansion, even the 0.2 domain, as well as having a bunch of morphing techniques due to idol transfiguration. But when he fought Yuji for the last time, he unlocked instant spirit body of distorted killing, and Mahito was entering that new stage of development as a curse. And if he was not defeated by Todo and Yuji's teamwork at that point in time, he might have become an entity that Nanami feared when he fought him all the way back in chapter 24 about a curse past the point of no return. So Mahito's adaptability and the amount of the sorcerers that he fought, like Yuji and Todo, really helped his own growth and helped him to unlock that next stage in terms of his own power and techniques. Next is the strongest sorcerer, Gojo Satoru, and I wanted to look at the time that he was recognized as the strongest sorcerer by Toji Fushiguro when Gojo ascended. And at that moment, that is not to be taken lightly, because at that time Gojo unlocked reverse curse technique, and on the verge of death he understood the core of cursed energy, unlocking his new non-standard technique, Hollow Purple. And at that point, Gojo knew his potential far exceeded any sorcerer at that time, and he was drunk on his own power because he was literally untouchable. And he said, "Throughout heaven and earth, I alone am the honored one." Gojo reached heights no one else has, and he was really high off his power, understanding his role as the strongest and having infinite potential. Though in my opinion, Gojo's one and only flaw is his human regret and resentment that came along with his best friend Geto becoming a curse user. And I think killing him and not being able to save Geto really disturbed Gojo to some degree, and actually had a hand in Gojo being sealed, but that's a topic again for another video. Now finally we have the final example, Maki Zeni. And if you follow JJK, you know Maki probably has the most noticeable and dramatic change when it comes to her own potential. And revealed in a perfect preparation arc, Maki and Mai being twins, I mean they share cursed energy as one person. And both, they didn't have much energy to begin with, but Mai having a little more was not really a person like her sister who wanted to try hard or to become something great. She just wanted normalcy, but Maki wanted to dominate and to prove herself in the clan, so their wills obviously clashed and their potential was limited. But when they were both dying, Mai decided to use the last of both of their cursed energy to create Toji's famed blade, leaving Maki with no cursed energy holding her back, and the potential to reach even Toji levels of power in terms of her own raw physical ability, thanks to her sister Mai's sacrifice. We definitely see the result of that, as the entire Zeni family were killed and slaughtered easily by Maki's hand, and she is just getting started. In Maki's case, it was an incredibly rare and incredibly intense circumstance, but due to her sister's sacrifice, Maki is now free to reach new levels as a sorcerer. That was about it for the more interesting examples of characters surpassing their limits that I found, but of course in one way or another characters will show what they have to offer when the situation is dire enough. The perfect example is that would be like a character like Megumi Fushiguro in that.
やめだ。イメージしろ。自由に限界を超えた未来の自分をやってやるよ。領域展開。
But characters continue to grow, and I'm sure this new Koen game arc, we will get to see more characters in the spotlight displaying their own power, their own tenacity and ability, because a sorcerer's confidence and mental fortitude is actually a huge part of their growth in this really crazy Jujutsu world. But thank you guys for checking out my video. Remember to like and subscribe and to share. Yes, share this video with friends or others who are interested, so I can keep making content that you guys would enjoy. But my next video is going to be really cool, being a revised breakdown on Mahito as a character in Jujutsu Kaisen. But thank you guys, I appreciate you. Thank you, bye bye.